What is going down, genitals? My name is the SXC Beast, and today's going to be a little bit more of a personal video, which you guys are probably accustomed to and probably actually expect by now. But what I wanted to talk about is my greatest fear. Like, out of anything, my greatest fear. Now, I've made this video probably like a year ago, but I figured it was a good time for me to go ahead and record it again, just because it really corresponds with some of the videos that I've been putting out lately. So a lot of the time people will say, I ain't afraid of shit, I ain't afraid of shit, which is funny because that is so hypocritical. They say that they're not afraid of anything, yet they're afraid to actually be honest and tell the truth of what actually they fear. So in that turn, I think if you say, I ain't afraid of shit, you're afraid of more than the normal person. But regardless, I think that the biggest thing that I fear out of anything whatsoever is failure. And there's obviously a more sentimental one, but I'll go ahead and I'll bring that in a little bit. But failure, not being able to achieve what I want to achieve, is pretty substantial. Like, a lot of people say, you're afraid of failure? You know, I'm afraid of fucking spiders because fuck spiders. Or I'm afraid of snakes. They look slimy, but they're not. They're scaly and they can strangle you with their constrictors and they're fucking scary. Fuck snakes. I don't like snakes or spiders. I'm not arachnophobic. I am more afraid of snakes than spiders. But if a spider is in my personal bubble, that bitch is gonna get smacked. Okay, that's just the way it goes. So the point being is, I feel as if failure and not being able to achieve what I want to achieve with my life, you know, when my time on this earth comes to an end, is one of the greatest possible fears I can have. For instance, is there anything more daunting when you put it in this light? Think about it. You're brought into this world by, your mother and father, okay? They've worked their asses off, ideally, this is a generalization, to get into a spot where they're going to be able to feasibly warrant raising a child. So they've done relatively well, and that's sort of the whole premise of humanity, is to grow up, live your life, contribute what you can, leave your legacy behind in your kin, and then you can pass on. You've done your job. So I think there's nothing more daunting than failing. For instance, I'm the only son that my mother had. She had 2 daughters and then me. So if my 2 sisters do perfectly fine, that's all fine and dandy. But for instance, if I were to fail horrifically, and for instance say I never got married or I never had a kid, right there, that my Phillips family name just ends. My father's legacy ends, and that is horrifying to me. While I can understand why wanting to have a child, which is essentially a miniature version of you to where you can mold this person's entire life, is somewhat egotistical and selfish, I can understand that. But at the flip end of that coin, I think that it's the most daunting thing in the world for me to want to have a kid and not be able to have a child or something of that nature, because that's one of my biggest goals in life. So I think not being able to succeed and failing is the worst thing ever, because realistically everybody has their goals and everybody sort of works their way up the ladder one rung at a time throughout their life. And can you imagine spending, I don't know, 30, 40 years of your adult life from the time you're, I don't know, 18 to the time you're 40 or 50 or 60 or however old by the time you get to retire? Actually, at this point, you wouldn't get to retire because you would have failed so fucking much. You'd be working at Walmart as a greeter when you're 84 with your colostomy bag beside you. But, I'm saying, like, you work up the every rung of the ladder, but you get to the point where nothing you do is good enough. Nothing you do is ever going to get you anywhere. You fail at everything you try. That's just like the most horrifying notion to me. For instance, my other biggest fear is to be a subpar father and husband, because my father was not a good husband, nor was he a good father. And I want to raise my child well. I want to, see my, my son and hopeful daughters graduate high school, get married, and have kids, and I want to be a grandfather, and I want to, die happily. I want that, typical life. I don't aim for any, huge delusion of grandeur. I'm not going to sit here and be like, and, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and then eventually I'm going to, be the president of the United States, and then I'm going to do this and that. I'm not looking at things like that, I want, to dabble in my ideal careers. I want to write a book. I want to, of course I can't write a book till I actually do something with my life. That's sort of like the end. I want to make a monologue. I want to, wrestle. I want to work in gaming media, possibly found a game or write a game. I want to do a talk show. I would love to then do a monologue or something like that. Maybe dabble in firefighting and police work. I don't know, just something like that. And then at the end of my life, be able to say I did, all of these great things. I've left my mark. I've been able to affect people on numerous different levels and change their lives. And then I want to have a child, and I want to, have my legacy live on through them as they go ahead and they embark on their journey to do the same thing. And my greatest fears are, either to not be able to have a child, because obviously I'd fail, or fail to be a superior father or husband than my dad was. So go ahead and leave in the comments what your biggest fear or fears are. Let me know. I'm trying to get sentimental here. I don't mean like, oh, dude, fuck clouds. That shit's scary. I mean like, like daunting, existential, if you die without doing this, your life will not be fulfilled shit. So, like I said, comments below. Let's try and get this to 150 likes. Trying to get this channel active again. Hopefully you guys have a good day. Stay shiny. Plus penis.